What is there to say about Fox News, the wonderful, most accurate, reliable news source the world has ever known? I've compiled a couple of clips to discuss that have been put out over the last week or so, and we'll go from there and I'll give my commentary and then we can just sort of end after that. Start with the first one.
All right, President Trump also tweeting today about the Federal Reserve, saying if the Fed had done its job properly, which it has not, the stock market would have been up 5,000 to 10,000 additional points, and GDP would have been well over 4% instead of 3%, with almost no inflation. Quantitative tightening was a killer, should have done the exact opposite. So far, the president has floated two names for his pick for the Fed board, Herman Cain and Steve Moore. A little bit more on
both terrible choices.
Joining us now, President Trump's pick for the Fed board and Heritage Foundation's visiting fellow, Steve Moore. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate it. You wrote the book. We have it right here, Trumponomics, the Inside America First Plan to Revive Our Economy.
Hey, let me let you on the whole reason he even put out that book. If you want a cabinet position, see, in the modern era, getting a job which you need to be distinctively qualified for, like actually understanding the economy, instead of actually knowing what you're talking about, you just have to suck off whoever the president is. So, for example, you had Kudlow, who was the economic advisor, speak all wonderfully about everything that Trump's doing ever since he became, he took his position. But it's all designed around cozying up the person who can fire you at any moment. So integrity is just completely out the wazoo. Because let me tell you something, there exists no politician that anyone agrees with 100% of the time. But a lot of these pricks, like this Moore guy that's Fed chair nominee, that's not him on the background, but you get my point, are afraid to say anything that might be seen as potentially damaging or negative toward the person who can pick and choose whether they're going to advance in their career. So it's all a bunch of crybaby, scaredy cat stuff.
Your book tour, you were emphatic in your support for the president's economic policies. Proof you said that things were good. Now he's saying, well, the Fed has done something wrong. How are things so good if the Fed was screwing it up so badly?
Well, look, Leland, I was fortunate enough to play a role in the presidential campaign, working with Donald Trump, putting the tax plan together. I think it's worked spectacularly well. We just got another.
And another thing they like to do, let me say to simple setup. I don't know what that means, David. But another thing they like to do, so you hear more talking about, oh, I was there with Trump and I was helping him put together his tax plan. Like, dude, this is the same trickle down economics they sold during the Reagan years. They always meet up with whatever Republican they like. These economists that favor that kind of policy, and they take the same idea of cutting crap for the rich, and then they'll be able to make jobs with the stuff they have over. And just package it with a different name. It's the same thing every election cycle. And say hello to Mark. Good evening. I don't know where you are, Mark, but it's let me see. 12:19. I don't even need my phone. I was about to grab that and look over there.
Data point on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, the lowest number of Americans signing up for unemployment insurance, like 50 years or something like that. So it's a very healthy economy. Okay. And by the way, people keep asking.
Here we go with the economy sucking off. Oh, economy.
Is the undertone of this answer, which is a long one, that you may not necessarily agree with the president's tweet there?
There's elements of it, actually.
And another thing Fox likes to do, and this is really slick and clever of them, I have to give them credit, they'll take these Republicans that are considered traditional, aka not tweeting and whatnot, and they'll try to use the tweets as an example of how Trump is different from the establishment. They're not going to talk about policies or things that are distinctively opposed to other Republican politicians or presidents or whoever the hell that are of the same party and ideology. They'll start getting into this tweet stuff and really overstating its importance. Mark, I wonder, how is London? I didn't know that about you. You should have said something.
I do agree with it. If you go back to the summer of 2018, last summer, the economy was growing at 4%.
Okay.
We had full employment, rising wages, and no inflation.
Lies. We had, well, the inflation thing again. Don't buy this crap. You have 76% of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck. Well, David, I can't dispute the inflation part, but that rising wages thing is a complete lie. Wages have been stagnant for 40 years. The national minimum wage is still $7. In my state, it's double that, but you get my point. That it's a bunch of nonsense. Other than the inflation part, so they're gonna keep taking the economy and try to use it as an indicator of wealth. That's why I told people before, I don't care about the economy. It doesn't matter to me. It's something that whatever side is in office uses to spout their success while ignoring issues of poverty and horrible living standards that continue to just decimate regular Americans over the last 40 years. Coincidentally, when wages became stagnant.
I mean, that's a pretty beautiful picture for an economy, right? And the Fed started raising interest rates, and that's when and independently of Donald Trump, he was criticizing Trump, the Fed. I criticized them as well, especially in December when they raised rates.
We'll make this easy. Name me something. Name me a monetary or fiscal policy in which you have publicly distanced yourself from the president in the past 2 years.
There's a number of things. First of all, I think Washington is spending way too much money, and I wish Trump were vetoing more spending.
So you heard that line right there, right? David says, you're right, the wage is garbage. If the wages go up, the cost of living magically goes up, so it stays the same. I'm based in NYC. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say, this part right here is really significant because he's trying to do that actual conservative thing. Because see, here's the thing about conservatives, right? So they'll tell you when you want to do a domestic program like Medicaid or just anything that is based within the U.S. Oh my God, that's too expensive, trillions of dollars in debt. But then when you want to have a defense budget of 717 billion like we had last year, or what was the number this time? 730. It was even higher. Completely wordless. You won't see a single word out of this prick's mouth about the literally hundreds of billions of dollars we've spent on the military in just the last 2 years alone since Trump's been in office. You can't blame Obama for that one, buddy. Your friend decided to sit there and sign off on that crap, and you were completely tight-lipped about it. You know why? Because they don't actually care about the deficit or about spending. It's all who just suck off whatever Trump likes so I can get this position.
Maybe something on the Fed.
On trade policy, I'm more of a free trader than he is. On the Fed, he likes low interest rates because he's a real estate guy. Right? And real estate guys like this. I'm in favor of a reduction in rates now, not because I'm in. The main reason is because I'm worried about deflation in the economy. Now, actually, the last few weeks, things have looked pretty much better. So I'm going to analyze.
Okay, David says the military is just going to get more money because they are trying to get the technology going. Oh yeah, they're always going to get more coins and coins. But the thing is, he's over here telling you about his positions on issues. I'm like, dude, you're literally going to get fired or yanked the second you do something Trump doesn't like. So that means when he gets in there, even if he does have a disagreement, he has to be just like this. Because remember what happened to Nielsen. She ended up having to get out of there after Trump said, I want to have a tighter, stronger position on immigration. And the same thing with Mattis. He got pissed that Trump wanted to get out of Syria and then disappeared because he was like, oh, I can't get my way, or I disagree so heavily. I'm compelled to get out of here. It's all based around being a yes man while you're in there, or else losing your job immediately thereafter. There is no middleman.
But I'm going to stick with what I said back in December. I think the December rate increase was a disaster. Trump does too, and I think it should be reversed.
Should be reversed. Okay, something that obviously you're going to be asked about it. When you
Tell you, man, this is all mumbo jumbo to get away with not actually addressing the terrible wages and living conditions.
We put up the 4 senators who had come out basically publicly and said they're not voting for Herman Cain, which effectively would kill the nomination. Either way.
Thank you, senators. I appreciate it. Keep him out of there.
You said I can think of nobody better
Hallelujah.
to be on the Fed board than Herman Cain. Really, nobody? You can't think of a single other person in America.
What I meant to say, look, both both my choice and Herman Cain's choice is unconventional. You know, we both will probably go over there and we'll be thinking outside of the box. And what's wrong with that?
You're a little bit more in the riverbanks than 999 and Herman Cain's problem.
By the way, I think 999 is a cool plan, but here's the point.
What does that even mean? Again, here we go with the sucking off stuff. I guarantee you he knows absolutely nothing about Cain whatsoever, and that is mostly tied to the fact that Cain's positions on the economy weren't really, like, he didn't explicitly state what was going on. So this is a good example. This host brings up the 999 plan, which was part of Cain's 2012 presidential campaign, and his response to, I think it's cool. How is it cool? You know why he can't explain it? Because he doesn't know anything about it. You know why he said it was cool? Because Trump picked Cain, and he has to suck him off to make sure he stays in good with his orange overlord. So let's continue.
They're the same people who made the mistake in December in raising rates. I think having people who represent business, represent farmers, have policy experience like I do, would be a healthy, breath of fresh air for the Fed. So, I think the idea that everybody has to be a PhD economist is just wrong. And by the way, the chairman of the Fed right now is not a PhD economist.
And you're not being nominated.
No one ever say anything about a PhD, just more lies.
We'll button this up real quickly when it comes to the issue of the gold standard, because in the past you have talked about being in favor of the gold standard. Take a listen.
Hey, you saw how long it took them to put that little stupid that video up? They're just sitting there. Holy hell.
Yeah, I like the idea of the gold standard.
So have you changed your views or modified them?
So, by the way, some of those tapes are like 25 years. I still have dark hair back then. So, look, my position is
Okay, that tape they just played is literally, it's from 2006, December. I saw they had the date in the corner, December 2016. That's literally only 2 years ago. And you say, some of those tapes are very old. They don't reflect my current view. No, this is you 2 years ago saying something. So what are you talking about? Oh, my God. David says, haha, that was, what was that long pause? That long pause was the guy looking for the clip because they don't get together and plan this stuff out. And just digging around. Like, oh, it's somewhere in here.
My good friend Steve Forbes, who's on your show often, on Box often, he's a big advocate of the gold standard. I don't think I would go for a gold standard right now. I do want the dollar to be as good as gold. I want it to be.
I understand why that causes consternation and concern. No, I would say in terms of the independence from President Trump. You understand why the questions are asked about Donald Trump is independent.
I don't think Donald Trump is for a gold standard. What I'm for is using prices. The purpose of the Fed is to keep inflation and deflation under control, to keep it stable, not to try to. You can't stimulate the economy by printing dollars, right?
Stimulate the economy.
Would you be willing to make a decision on the Fed that was potentially politically inconvenient for President Trump heading up into the re-election?
Yes, because I think what you want from the Fed.
Okay, but again, what is politically inconvenient? Like, this is why I hate listening to economists, especially ones on these networks, because they go on here and they talk all this mumbo jumbo. Like, for example, if you were talking about, let's say, and I hate this topic because it's so overplayed, immigration, and you say, I'm in favor of a border, I'm in favor of it being open, whatever that your position would be, it's a specific position that is simplified the moment you say it. Here it's a bunch of stuff about,
well, I think the gold standard will be good, and I think I'm a free trader.
What the hell are you talking about? Elaborate on what this position is, why you think it's good, and why it should be adopted by the person who nominated you for this position, or at least is thinking about it. They can't do it. So, it's all designed for them to go on here, sound like they're smart, confuse the hell out of everybody, because I'm even getting confused a little bit listening to this. And then, hopefully they can weasel their way into their job. So that's him. At least it's almost over.
That's a failed formula. You can't create growth by printing money. If it were that simple, Mexico and Uruguay and Zimbabwe would be the two wealthiest countries in the world, right? So
now, that is true, because in Zimbabwe they started printing I think it was like $1 trillion bills. Everybody was. So that's correct. Again, this isn't the I hate Trump show, so we give credit when things turn out to be accurate. You say hello to Envoy.
Just because you have more people working at higher wages, that does not cause inflation. Okay, that's your economic lesson today.
I appreciate it.
Come on, there's 10 more seconds. Let's get this over with.
Continuing economic education here on America's News Headquarters.
Thank God it's over. Holy hell, I hated that. That was so terrible. I mean, Jesus Christ. I wanted to just... And we still have, 3 more of these to do? Let's see, McConnell, Giuliani. Let's do the goofy representative with the eye patch.
It's a problem.
Everybody was crying over... You remember that with Fox, they were crying about that one host on SNL making fun of him having an eye patch? Like, dude, you guys are the same ones who let all these different idiots come on here and say nasty stuff about other people. Look, so... You know, don't spare me the tears, basically. I can call all kind of stuff over how I look all the time. Let's see. Mark says, what's up? David says, does each state have a spending cap? I don't think so. From what I recall, actually, my state of California, which I've criticized multiple times, this isn't me trying to prop it up or anything, but because we have so many people paying for our welfare system, they've actually taken the funding from over here and applied it to southern states such as South Carolina and I think Louisiana. But they've recycled our cash and put it somewhere else to help out people in other states. So David, I'm not entirely sure of how to answer your comment versus giving money. Again, I'd have to look into it, but I'm not a douchebag like him, and I'm not going to pretend as not Omar like Moore, the guy that was on there. I'm not going to pretend as if I'm some brilliant economist and then say all these things that people don't even understand. So let's watch this. Here we go.
Now downplaying the 9/11 terror attacks.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
The New York Post blasting Omar. Here's Thursday's front cover. But some of her radical cohorts are...
So let's pause right there before we get into this idiot's interview. She makes a comment that is, you just heard it. This is the comment they're losing their minds over. You just heard it right there. Some people did something. And this is the AOC coverage on steroids, where they take a little clip of something you said and then run with it for a whole week. All she said was some people did something, and that was enough to cause them to print this little stupid rage quit cover on this magazine for Trump to put out a video where her speech is edited to have footage of 9/11 playing over it. You know, just all this weird focus on a single comment. So it's the AOC coverage. They say one thing, gets blown up. Let's hear the rest of this.
Defending her. Listen to this.
This is just pure racist act by many of those, hateful acts by those, because she does speak truth.
We are getting to a level where this is an incitement of violence against progressive women of color.
I think that is really interesting that out of all the different members of Congress they could have picked, they picked the other congresswoman that they're obsessed with covering all day long, and also the one that said impeach that you know what on her first day. Did what though? These people are always so vague in their what is this? In their saying. Oh, okay, yeah. And there's, I'm sorry, that confused me right there.
Republican Congressman and retired Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw also sounding off against Omar, tweeting this. First member of Congress to ever describe terrorists who killed thousands of Americans on 9/11 as some people who did something, quote unquote. Unbelievable.
You know why I don't take this seriously? So look, you can say, and you can make the argument, this should have been stated by her to be some massive tragedy or whatever. But it's like, dude, you guys are the same ones who have remained quiet. Because remember, they're upset about the murders that took place, the horrible bloodshed, yada, yada, yada. We've had more people die from gun violence in the U.S. in the last couple of years than in 9/11. But do you see any of these pricks saying anything about that and going, oh, we must address this, and it's such a tragedy that the people who've been empowered didn't? No, Not one word. So it's all this rhetoric crap where they try to use what someone else says to obfuscate from the fact that we have multiple tragedies going on right now involving the deaths of loads and loads of people, like in Yemen, while they're silent about it, but they want to sit here and be crybabies because this congresswoman didn't say something that they liked.
AOC coming to Omar's defense with this ridiculous response. You refuse to co-sponsor the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund, yet have the audacity to drum a resentment towards Elon with completely out of context quotes. In 2018, right-wing extremists were behind almost all of U.S. domestic terror killings. Why don't you go do something about that? Congressman Dan Crenshaw joins me.
Let's hear this clown.
I mean, I'm almost at a loss for words, Congressman, and we can just take this one at a time. How would you like to respond to AOC saying that you need to do something about it? I mean, you did lose your eye protecting her, fighting overseas for our country.
I have no sympathy. Let me tell you how this works. You don't get to be a douchebag when you're in office and then get to go, but I was in the military, so, you know, you have to listen to me, respect me. No, I don't. No, I don't. Let me tell you something. A lot of these, and it's not, this is sad because, let's face it, like I said before, 27% of the homeless are veterans. So the ones who aren't privileged enough to get in the office and win don't go around telling you must respect me because I served honorably. They're just trying to live. These people will go to these conflicts, survive, you know, be sellouts for you know, whatever corporation is paying them to do whatever they do in office, and then expect us to go, well, I can't criticize him because he did something almost 20 years ago. So all of the actions he has afterward, I cannot say anything negative about whatsoever, no matter the context. Like, do you realize how disingenuous that is? Could you imagine if I went and, let's say, joined the Navy and served in one of these different banana wars we're in, and I come back a year later saying, well, now that I've been to, I don't know, Syria, that means I can talk about anybody I want. And if you critique me, you hate American service members who are serving in Syria. You see how disingenuous and ridiculous this is? Her talking about his refusal to co-sponsor that particular piece of legislation, AOC's comment, is based around him being in office and thus having the ability to do so. So when they tell you about this conflict that they were in, it's their way of, again, shifting from what the actual topic was. Instead of saying, hey, I didn't co-sponsor because I don't know, you know, this reason. Oh, I served in the military, so I can do whatever I want. Always says good point. They don't want to address gun violence because it's an affair concerning our own soil, whereas 9/11, they can get behind terrorism, something America loves to do. Oh yeah, that's why we've been in Afghanistan for almost 19 years, and you still have idiots that think that people aren't purposefully keeping that conflict going.
There's a lot to unpack there, right? And it's like I said, it's almost not worth responding to.
Then don't do it.
Okay, but let's unpack this. Okay, so she thinks that co-sponsoring a bill, by the way, that isn't out of committee yet, means that's how you're defending 9/11 victims. Last I checked, I thought I did defend 9/11 victims. I went overseas and tried to make sure that this attack never happened again.
Exactly.
And make sure to take the fight to the enemy that committed it.
Dude, it's like, and then again, this is not to disservice service members, right? But you're going to say, I went overseas to try to make this not happen. What happened during 9/11? Does anybody remember where they came to U.S. and then got on their planes and then flew? You know, you can at least recall that. So what the hell does you going and fighting in some conflict have to do with stopping people from boarding a plane again and doing the same thing over? I had to discharge so many of my homeless patients back to the streets if I couldn't get them into an SRO after treating them for illness related to exposure of the elements. Jesus Christ. And then DJ, who I've never seen before, is sharing something. I don't know what that is. So let's continue.
Not just her either. It's also her counterpart in New York, Max Rose. I mean, the fact that they would double down on this and try to provide cover for Ilhan Omar when all you have to do really is say, hey, she misspoke, maybe, maybe she didn't mean it that way. Why don't you say that?
Yeah, all she has to say is, I was a little too flip. Perhaps my language was a little too imprecise. I know that 3,000 people died on that horrible day, and those some people were radical Al-Qaeda terrorists who we've been trying to bring to justice. But she doesn't do that. She actually doubled down with this tweet. Look.
So because she didn't clarify what she meant, we must do a 30-minute segment about it, or however long these segments are altogether, because they didn't just talk to him and end it. They had some other people. Mark says, yet again, Americans only care about bloodshed and violence when it happens to them. Yep. And let's see, people act like clown. I'm just all right, DJ. I don't even. Your comment is amusing. Let's put it like that.
What Omar tweeted about this. This is from, I guess, the other day. The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon. As President George W. Bush. Was Bush downplaying the terrorist attacks? What if he was a Muslim? I mean, George W. Bush. Yeah, I mean, George W. Bush went to Ground Zero when there was still smoke up there, and we didn't even know it was Al Qaeda exactly. And he says, they brought these buildings down, and he went into Afghanistan and he did something about it. What is she doing?
I don't know. I think she needs to hire.
I really hate these disingenuous arguments. You're comparing the actions of the, at the time, incumbent president of the United States to one congresswoman who has as much power as, 400 other people plus. Do you not get how this is a disingenuous argument? How she literally can't do the same thing he did because she doesn't have the same power in her position. Just, oh my God, let's continue with this crybaby interview. Mr. Eye Patch can tear up some more.
I don't even know what she's getting at with that particular tweet. Again, there's too much material here. It comes at us every single day, Jesse. And
I think she especially is I don't like the fact that they try to use her gender or her Muslim faith or her race as a shield. Like, she says whatever she wants. It's crazy and completely irresponsible for a sitting member of Congress. And then the minute you criticize her, she says, oh, you're attacking me because I'm a Muslim or I'm a woman or I'm black.
Right. And this is the worst kind of argumentation. So what they're doing is they're trying to silence any kind of arguments against them. Why? Because they don't actually have an argument to make.
See, look how stupid that comment is. They don't have an argument to make, but you're responding to the argument that they made. Remember, they played the clip of AOC speaking. They played the clip of Tlaib speaking. They played at the start the clip of Omar. So they have no argument to make, but then you responded to what they had to say in their argument. So I said we live in the Twilight Zone. People say the complete opposite of what actually is going on. You want to Gravel to join? Oh yeah, I put that up in there too, Dana. I don't think we're gonna get to the amount though, because a lot of people just don't care. They're unfortunately.
So what
they like these banana wars.
Try and silence anyone else from saying anything. You're not allowed to say that because of who I am.
Right.
Sorry, no, that's not how things work in a democracy, and especially amongst members of Congress. You're supposed to debate ideas. If you say something, we should call it out. I mean, that is the point of this. That's why we were elected. So to say that you're not allowed to talk about something because of identities is nonsense. And it's also sort of bigoted in itself, because you're assuming that everybody of a certain skin color or gender should think a certain way. And that is really wrong. It's the content of your character that matters. It's the ideas that you have. And that's what we should actually be debating here.
Yeah, because if that congressman or woman said the exact same thing she said, and it was a straight white male, we would still be saying, do not say that. What are you talking about? It has nothing to do with what she looks like. It's what comes out of her mouth.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but there have been at least 3 Muslim members of Congress. So we've had Tlaib, Omar, and Keith Ellison, who ran as the DNC chair and had lost after Obama called all his buddies up to vote against him. And all 3 of them have been smeared as anti-Semitic and had these weird connections assumed of them. That's not a coincidence. So, they can keep pretending, oh, if it was somebody else, we would have said, yeah, I don't buy it. Sorry.
She's 3 months in, she's already caused a huge headache for Nancy Pelosi. So that's fun to watch. But besides that, I mean,
She's caused a huge headache because they'll take a small clip of her saying something and then run with it for a whole week. And then you can't even do anything in between now and then because right when one controversy starts up or is manufactured by them, the right wing, whatever, they go and start another one. So at first it was the Israel thing. Then, she said something else on Twitter and they blew that up. Now it's this. So they just keep finding stuff to make bigger than it actually is.
I don't see
Pelosi, by the way, also is a co-sponsor on that bill that AOC mentioned.
Yeah, that's all right, Congressman.
It's nonsense, of course.
Congressman, I will leave it at that. Thank you for serving our country. You did a lot more than what AOC did. So let's remind everybody about that. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
He survived the banana war, so now he can make sure that you die in one as well, or die in one in his place. See, which fool do we want to pick? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch the tiger by the toe. If he's hollering, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
See the breaking story. Washington on high alert this evening and all weekend. The release of the redacted Mueller report could come at any time.
Okay, David says, what are these people chatting about? Just putting on a show. And she didn't even try. She did not say anything noteworthy. Yeah, it was literally them taking a speech she gave and running with it for a week. They do the same thing to AOC all the time. They took, I think I remember mentioning that it was before she entered office. There was a video of her talking to some kids on Twitter that was like maybe 2 minutes long, and they had a whole segment about it. It was crazy. So there's actually a person who I'm forgetting what their name, but on Twitter they said that in the last 6 weeks, Fox has said or made reference to AOC at least 3,000 times. They're obsessed with her.
Bombshell claims by the Attorney General himself that Obama-era officials spied on the Trump camp. Claims that several Democrats have denied, including former Obama officials denying it, like former FBI Chief James Comey.
When I hear that kind of language used, it's concerning because the FBI and the Department of Justice conduct court-ordered electronic surveillance. I have never thought of that as spying. If the Attorney General has come to the belief that that should be called spying, wow. That's going to require a whole lot of conversations inside the Department of Justice. But I don't know what he meant by that.
Wow, he says. Here now, President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Would you like a chance to cross-examine him, sir?
Oh, gosh, yeah. My goodness. I mean, he doesn't realize that the dictionary definition of surveillance is spying or vice versa. I mean, does he know that there are certain things called synonyms? But in any event, Jim, unfortunately, has disgraced himself as head of the FBI. The ridiculous way he conducted the Hillary Clinton investigation.
So what is he hiding?
He's hiding the fact that he probably perjured himself with regard to the Pfizer applications. He certainly engaged in a word he loves, gross negligence. He presented an application to the Pfizer court where he has a special obligation to tell the other side of the story because it's never told. And I helped create the Pfizer court, so I think I probably understand it maybe a little better than he does. I sure understand the obligations you have better than he does.
So what is your reaction?
So he presented the Steele dossier as if it was a piece of intelligence. It wasn't a piece of intelligence, Ed. It was a piece of garbage. I've read intelligence documents. You go through the first 3 pages. This is something that should be, read in some dirty club or something. And it's really ridiculous. And then he never did anything to corroborate it.
You know what's ridiculous? He's bringing up Comey and talking about how much of a disgrace. But what's funny is that Comey's firing is what led to all the Mueller stuff. Like if Comey was never gotten rid of, we apparently at least wouldn't have gotten the special counsel investigation, which was a direct result of getting rid of the head of the FBI. These interviews are so dumb. Every time Giuliani does an interview, there's always like some little line in there that's stupid or is amusing or whatnot. It's why it's harder for me to talk about them than other people on here.
He said it's unverified. He's the director of the FBI. He's supposed to verify it, Jim. You got to verify it. Here's what you can verify. You could have asked Steele, when is the last time you were in Russia? Mm-hmm. He'd have told you 9 years ago.
So, man, they took Russia and just blew it up into being the most powerful place in the world. Like every single time somebody says anything that is uh, commonly shared position of Russia, right? They just say, "Oh, you're bought out by Putin." I'm telling you, it's that new Red Scare. It's terrific.
Or you could have looked at his passport documents. Sure. So that might have raised a question about whether it was phony or not. So, or there's a specific allegation that Michael Cohen was in Prague on a particular date. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine FBI agents on their own not checking out with the passport office. Let's see if we can verify this little piece of information with this highly questionable document.
So, Mr. Mayor, this has not been investigated thoroughly. Now, William Barr saying it was spying. How significant is that? Eric Trump was on Fox and Friends this morning saying now there's an adult in the room and they're going to get to the bottom of it.
Thank God. I mean, it's been a long time that we've had equal justice. I mean, the revelations of crimes committed by the people who instigated this investigation and some of the things they've done along the way are actually much more concerning than the ridiculous allegation of collusion, which has no substance. So crimes were committed by the people who instigated this investigation. It starts with the 4 applications to the FISA court, which are fraudulent. They're phony. They're false.
Let me ask you whether you're concerned.
Don't even let the man speak. They're phony. They're false. They're fake. They're fraudulent. All right, this is really not going anywhere. He's basically saying that the real criminals are the people investigating the criminals. Saying that we should end the investigations while calling for more investigations. So I'm done with this one. That's enough of that clown. Let's go to our last fool
tonight. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Mr. Leader, thanks for being here. In the past few minutes, Bernie Sanders put out a statement saying that if President Bernie Sanders would get Medicare for all through, he's pushing for filibuster reform, says it would get 51 votes. Democratic senators, quote, need to be prepared to do what polls show that rank-and-file Democrats want, and that is a Medicare for all single-payer.
So this is going to be basically, just to give you like a little spoiler, another Red Scare segment where they have a politician come on, and instead of actually discussing why the proposal is bad in a way that's legitimate, they'll go around and call the other person some term like socialist, which in the current era is really stupid if you're familiar with the prior era. He'll talk about how so ridiculously far left Medicare for all is, like Republicans actually voted for the ACA or Obamacare when none of them did. So effectively what this means is that he's trying to mask the fact that his actual opposition comes from the fact or the position that the Democrats have this position, and therefore he cannot vote for it. That it's less of an ideological issue, but a party affiliation one. Let's start.
Your reaction to that?
Not as long as I'm majority leader.
Long.
Medicare for none. Because as the setup piece pointed out, 180 million Americans would lose the private health insurance many of them have negotiated for at work.
And they would lose that private insurance to gain another form that is run by the government and paid for by their taxes. Understand when he says that, he's specifically trying to create a circumstance where people will get afraid. Oh my God, Sanders is going to kick me off my health care, and leave out the fact that the point of doing that is to get rid of this entire, paid for profit big pharma system that has allowed millions of people to go bankrupt from health insurance. So already the obfuscating and just the complete reversal of what's actually going to happen, it's all present just in that one itty bitty minute of this segment. The fact we're not even a tenth of the way through this. So let's continue.
Medicare itself, that the current recipients have been paying into all these years, would be completely drained by adding all these additional people. If you want to turn America into a socialist country, this is the first step. That coupled, of course, with the Green New Deal, which would eliminate a whole lot of jobs. I think what we're seeing here is full socialism on display in the Democratic primaries for president. And even those who are skeptical about it, like Senator Klobuchar, are saying a public option. Well, that's not much different, because if you have a public option, I guarantee you the public option will also drive all the private insurance companies.
So this is a really telling point right here. We can see what, and Dana knows this more than anybody else. I don't know if she's still in the chat, but what these people do on Twitter is they go around, if they're quote unquote Democrats, and say, "Oh, we need someone who's pragmatic and progressive and will say things that appeal to both sides and to moderate." Like, no, the person he just mentioned has outright stated her opposition to free college. Has never tried to position for, or rather, they gave lip service to the Green New Deal, but they won't fully back it, referring to Klobuchar, or as I like to call her, Cloud Bootjar, and is still getting smeared as a socialist or as being of the exact same ideology as people who actually are progressive. And this was a point that Jimmy Dore made about how even if you try to play that little moderate angle thing, you still get smeared anyway, because they're not trying to have a legitimate discussion on how to fix stuff here. It's all based around who can get called the most ridiculous terms and make the most people afraid of, and all this Red Scare crap. So it's a really good moment in this interview.
So look, this is a prescription for turning America into a Western European country.
Where's the GOP plan on healthcare?
Well, what we want to make sure everybody knows is that we're all in favor of covering pre-existing conditions, and that's really
Goddamn lie, but let's continue.
endangered by the current litigation that's working its way through the courts. I'm all in favor of working on what should be called niche fixes to try to improve the current system. Obviously, Obamacare has entirely too high co-payments and deductibles. We ought to be working.
Yeah, Dana says it correctly. Democrats already lost with moderate Hillary Clinton. But again, this is why even people like Harrison Booker and Gillibrand, all the rest of them, who I think are just kind of like giving lip service, they're at least savvy enough to know that you can't try to rely on the, like, what is it, 6 or 7% of Republican voters who don't like Trump, and then think they're all going to automatically vote for you, and just say screw you to the quote unquote far left part of your party, and then not expect to lose the election. So they're at least giving lip service to this stuff because they want to appear to be what their records show them not to be. So it's his, and really what's so stupid about these interviews is that when these Republicans, and it's not just him, it's a majority of these commentators, when they call themselves giving advice to Democrats, they are purposefully trying to screw you over for obvious reasons. Why the hell would you believe the Republican Senate Majority Leader on how you can beat the current Republican president? Why would you take his advice if you're thinking of running for this? But again, some people are stupid enough to go, yeah, he really said something that makes sense. Yeah. Told you, I don't care about party. So if you get an anti-war Republican versus some Democrat that wants to stay in all the 7 countries we're bombing, I'll vote for them over the Democrat in a heartbeat. But that's because I'm not a douchebag who blindly backs one party all the time. So when I see someone that is appealing to the other side, I'll switch over. But again, that's under specific circumstances. Let's continue with the moron or the turtle or whatever.
On something like that. There is a bipartisan effort underway in the Senate to try to get down the cost of prescription drugs. Those are the kinds of things that can actually pass. But I guarantee you, next year, what's going to be on display across this country is a debate about whether we want to turn America into a socialist country. I never thought, by the way, that we'd be debating the virtues of capitalism in America in my lifetime.
You're an idiot. We're talking about because I do hate these economic systems. And Marx says, this generation is doomed pretty much. Yeah, I would share the same sentiment. But this goes back to what I was talking about, where these out of touch people try to make you think, I never thought we would be discussing the American economic system as a failure. It's like, yeah, it's a failure because it's caused citizens who are working to have the highest levels of productivity throughout almost all of the US's time, or at least in the higher echelon, and then still somehow not be able to afford their housing, along with other things. So the model is getting critiqued. Like, this is, again, the disingenuous argument. Instead of saying, okay, I like this system, but let's talk about why it's screwed up or why people are trying to get the other one, oh, I can't believe people are questioning it and saying that it is horrible. Like, you guys realize how warped this stuff is when you have almost 80% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, but then Trump has a, what was it, like a 40-something% approval rating, and a lot of these Republicans get reelected over and over. That means their own voters who are sitting up there in some horrid position of, voting against their self-interest will back these pricks that are doing nothing for them. So it's a sad story.
Off last week taking another run at trying to repeal and replace Obamacare. Did the president get too far over his skis there?
It's like, get over it. It's been around for 9 years.
We made that effort last Congress. It didn't work. Clearly, the Democratic House is not going to pass it.
Yeah, because it's
so
stupid.
We're not going to spend time in the Senate on things that have, literally no chance.
And this isn't just, again, let's call it what it is. The Democratic House is ridiculous right now. We're not going to get free college. We're not going to get single pay, nothing. Just, it's literally, they'll pass an okay gun bill, and then maybe, some like milquetoast immigration thing, and then that's about it. So it's crappy all around.
Then we'll have to revisit the whole matter. And but that's not likely to happen anytime for the next couple of years. So I think people ought to just take a deep breath and settle down and let us work on some of these more modest fixes that I think the American people need and deserve.
Another good term here, modest fixes. Remember, we have 30 million Americans who don't have health insurance, and we have 76% of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck. And he's talking about a modest solution. That's, if that isn't a full display of incrementalism, I don't know what is. When you square those two statistics, and there's other ones I can go into, but again, those two statistics with what he just said, that shows you why people don't like these politicians. You have these gaping issues in the U.S., and then the idiots who can actually do something. Well, we just tighten this up a little bit, things will get better. So, all wonderful.
No, that's not how the president talks about it. He says, get rid of Obamacare after the election now.
Well, after he and I had this discussion, he indicated he would come up with a plan and he'd run on it during the campaign. And if the Republicans were able to regain the House and hold the Senate, that would be a time for us to be voting on it.
I want to ask you, just since Senator Sanders talked about filibuster and filibuster reform, you've executed this maneuver to speed up the confirmation of many of the president's nominees. You're on the record saying there isn't an appetite to get rid of the legislative filibuster. But didn't that move kind of crack the door a little bit more, suggesting that maybe that...
Oh, yeah, by the way, there's a video of Sanders on Twitter that's been spreading around where he was talking about, basically, it's like it's from a couple of years ago, and he's expressing the reverse position on the filibuster. That has no effect on my support for him, because the same people who are sharing that, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are the same people who will vote for someone that said the exact opposite of what they're saying now a couple of years ago as well. So even worse so in some cases. So a bunch of hypocrites just trying to smear one person, or pretend like they actually care about consistency for the first time ever. Okay, David says, I don't know. We come together as humans and at least try to push those people out. They have been in power over here in America since the late 1400s. Yeah, that group that is able to always get away with doing whatever they want, regardless of consequence.
Going to gain some strength with lawmakers that the filibuster is not going to be around for long?
Well, look, this is a little bit down in the weeds for your viewers.
Trust me, they get it.
But the Senate's got two calendars, the executive calendar and the legislative calendar. We're in the personnel business. The House is not. Personnel, until Bush 43 was elected, was always handled in a fairly smooth way with a simple majority.
Here's something else that no one wants to talk about, all these damn judges. Okay, so I know the screen is barely visible. I get that. And that was only because I didn't want it to just be some dark room where you can see the screen and I'm just invisible. So federal judicial confirmations, 2 Supreme Court justices, 37 appeal court, and then district courts, 54, total 93. So the Democrats have let 93 people slip onto the court, and that's gotten almost no coverage from anywhere. So when you're wondering why Roe v. Wade is in trouble of getting repealed and why the ACA is about to get its legs taken off, and really it's sad because all these Democrats that are talking about packing the court, they're all doing it because they realized too late that, oh my God, we've really let him get away with this. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, I know. Let's take the easy way out and invent new rules.
Legislation is the essence of the Senate. It's always required a supermajority, and it has two good effects. It either kills bad stuff, or it guarantees that both sides work out a compromise. That's the essence of the Senate. It's exactly what George Washington hoped the Senate would become: the place where things were slowed down, the place where things were thought over, and the place where a lot of bad ideas didn't become law.
So you're fighting Democrats here on the filibuster and maybe the White House too, right?
Well, the president was antsy about this. I told him we weren't going to do it, and we didn't. And I think now he's probably thinking I was right.
I want to get your thoughts on the testimony today from the Attorney General. He got a lot of attention. You heard earlier he was asked if there was spying on the Trump campaign. He said yes. Here's how some top Democrats reacted to that.
That's the second time. Hey, Mark, that's the second time that happened. Here's how people reacted. Then 30 seconds later, here comes the actual clip.
Conspiracy theory nonsense. It's a shell game. Look at this imaginary conspiracy versus the fact that the Russians interfered with our elections.
I'm very concerned about the statements
Oh,
made
this
by
hag.
Attorney General Barr. I think that they undermine our Constitution. They undermine the role of the Attorney General. I don't trust Barr. I trust Mueller. Okay.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's obviously a question of whether you trust Bill Barr or not. He was confirmed unanimously as Attorney General way back in Bush 41. He's an honorable man. He's not over there trying to cover anything up. He's going to...
Look how clever that was. In response to these critiques, he answers, it depends if you trust the Attorney General. And he brings up not the confirmation number that Barr had this time around, where only, 3 Democrats who everybody already doesn't like anyway voted for him. But he brings up the first time around when his record wasn't as well established as it is now, with the addition of a previous tenure as Attorney General and stuff between the first time and the second time. Again, really slick this speech and this interview is. Just the word choices, it's all methodical. Colin was very brilliant. He's a prick, but he's very brilliant.
It's a Mueller report that is as open as possible. And when I say as possible, I'm pretty confident he's not going to throw innocent people who weren't charged under the bus and ruin their reputation, or reveal classified information. And if you send that up to the Hill, I guarantee you it'll get out.
He guarantees it.
About the early part of the investigation, are you confident Barr and/or a Senate committee is going to get to the bottom of the beginning?
I'm pretty sure there was already an Inspector General in the Justice Department looking at that particular problem. That was related to the deputy in the FBI who was dismissed. It's worth a look, and I think the Inspector General in the Justice Department is already looking at that, and I think the Attorney General's within his...
Jesus, they put up some of the most unflattering photos ever. They had one picture of his arms like this. Then they have another one where he's throwing his hands up like, damn, can you just use his official portrait and be done with it? I know that's a minor critique, but it's these people are... It's almost like the network knows this is a gag, and that's why they put those photos up there. Mark says it's amazing what happens when some people are put on the spot. Oh yeah, they're able to get away with all kind of stuff.
An illegal takedown of the president and treason. You agree with him?
Look, I think the Mueller report is something the president ought to be happy about. He basically said what the president was hoping to hear. And I think once it's revealed, as much of it as it can legally be revealed, the president should be applauding it.
Senate watchers, there are a lot of them, say your agenda in the Senate is pretty limited, restricted mostly to confirming nominees, not robust. Fair?
Well, that's partially true.
That's absolutely true. See, what happened was that he came in there with Trump and was like, yeah, we control everything. We're going to be able to do whatever we want. And we know we have Democrats that like to vote against their own party all the time. So they had health care. They had the stupid tax bill. Obviously the first Supreme Court justice, and they're able to get 2 of these because of just their majority, the Supreme Court nominee also from Democrats voting for it. And this tax bill, but this healthcare thing just keeps failing and failing. And so what ends up happening is all these Republicans, you know what? Screw it and just don't bother with it for 2 years and then come back to you now and go, oh my God, Obamacare has to go. Obamacare has to go. Even though we didn't say a word about it at all last year because it was so dangerous and scary that if we said the ACA or the Affordable Care Act, everyone's head is going to explode. Meaning that, and there are people who don't get sarcasm. So I'm basically saying they're going to keep trying to sell you this bag of tricks that this healthcare, this major package of the ACA needs to go. And it's like such this dangerous thing when they literally sat on their behinds all last year without doing anything about it. So I can't take them seriously.
Not likely to take up our best ideas, and we're not likely to take up theirs. On the other hand, personnel is important to Supreme Court.
Oh yeah, by the way, that gridlock stuff, I feel no sympathy because again, when they had both chambers of Congress, they didn't ask any Democrats, what do you want on gun control? What do you want on reducing college tuition? What do you want immigration? Nothing, not a single thing. But then when they lose the House, well, you guys got to work with us. So you're going to get a gridlock Congress that doesn't do anything for 2 years. You mean like the one we had before? They only passed one major law. So again, no sympathy. You don't get to want to start reaching across the aisle after the American people say, hey, screw you being in control of everything.
30 circuit court judges, the most in the first 2 years of any administration in history. We've done 7 more circuits now. That's 37. We have 53 district judges backed up. These are lifetime appointments that are going to make a huge impact on the country in the future. Now that we've modified the rules in a way that will allow us to expedite these appointments, we're going to do all of the district judges. That's not unimportant. That's going to have the longest impact on the country of anything we do.
Legislatively, one of the 2 things you've had major votes on, and you mentioned it, is to criticize Democrats. You got to vote on the Green New Deal, just to put Democratic, really presidential hopefuls in the Senate on the record. You decried what you called show votes during the government shutdown. How was that?
Show votes.
Well, it was, but I don't intend to spend all of our time.
So you just saw him out of the horse's mouth. I purposefully set up this vote as a show vote after criticizing show votes. Again, like just when people pay attention to the individual things they say, they sound dumber and dumber.
I'm doing that sort of thing, but once in a while, people ought to go on record and decide whether they're willing to vote for what they say they're for.
And he just justified it. Once in a while, people need to tell you what they're actually in favor of. But that wasn't the point. You brought up this thing that you knew couldn't pass because you guys have a majority. And your own party doesn't support it whatsoever. But you brought it up so you could get the people who back it to vote for it, and they chose not to.
I mean, when we had the Green New Deal vote in the Senate, only 4 Democrats voted against it. The rest of them voted present, including people who co-sponsored it. I think we should assume that all the rest of them are actually in favor of this job-killing proposal.
Do you think Congress should do anything to fight climate change?
Yeah,
nope.
No.
No, you don't. Nope.
Technology.
What the hell does that even mean?
The government shut down our economy and caused us to lose an incredible number of jobs.
Speaking about shutdowns, will there be another shutdown in the fall?
No.
Why?
Yeah, he's like,
Simple thing to do, and I don't believe we'll do that again. We do need, by the way, in order to avoid that, I've spoken with both the Speaker and the President within the last few days. We have convened a discussion at the staff level to see if we can agree on how much to spend this year and next year to avoid just that kind of thing.
The Democrats pulled off their budget.
But then why didn't he do it the first time around? Like, I don't think people remember. We had, like, I know people recall the one we had back in January to start in December. We had 3 We had 3 government shutdowns last year. We had one that went on for a few days in January. Then we had one that went on for like a couple of hours in February. And then that big one that became the longest one ever. Let's see. It's amazing what happened. Are put on the spot. Okay. I reread that, David. The more you listen to these people, the more realize they are full of it, and you lose some brain cells. Too much debate talk. Yeah, these interviews, it's like they just, God, they have an answer for everything that's not an answer. Like, do you believe in climate change? Oh yeah, we could have done something during the shutdown, and and then we have to do some for the jobs. Like, but then you continue to say the Green New Deal will kill jobs when the point of it was to say, let's try to have a framework around making jobs that are suitable for the economy. Like, it's double speak, and the idiots that watch this stuff unironically are going to say, "Oh yeah, he cares so much."
The other day, what's your relationship with Nancy Pelosi? Can you characterize it?
Well,
They hug and kiss and get behind the closet and make out and. No, you don't. No, they don't have different views at all. The only reason that this immigration thing, like that anyone would think that, is because they've blown the immigration stuff to such an extent that nothing else matters. You look at her and him on staying in Syria or staying in Yemen or staying in the other ones, Libya, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia. They're all completely aligned. Licking Israel's sack, Netanyahu's cum in their mouths, entirely alike, with no difference whatsoever. But again, because we don't discuss international issues at all, people think that they're different. So, and again, she's apparently opposed to the Green New Deal too, and free college. So what the hell is the difference? But when you bring this up, people, they don't want to think correctly. Let's see. You're right. They didn't have different views. Like I said, man, the only reason people think that is because all these networks talk about now is immigration and other domestic issues that, they purpose. Like, you can even go in Pelosi's past and look at votes she had that are completely opposed to her supposed current views on the matter. So I don't buy it. But they'll keep selling this, and people will keep scraping and eating it.
And in order for the government to function, we have to be able to discuss these things with each other, and we're going to do that with the administration on this issue of how much we're going to spend this year and next year.
Is there anything, we're heading into this election season, we're always one election away from solving big things, it seems. Is there any chance of bipartisan deals on drug prices?
Not at all.
Possibly.
Infrastructure.
If we can deal with how to pay for it. We've all been talking about infrastructure, including the president.
How to pay for it. But again, no word on how did you pay for those over 700 billion military budgets we had last year and this year. I'm telling you, whenever it's something domestic like infrastructure, well, we have to scrape to get the dollars together because we're in a debt and we don't know it. It's like, oh, you're a liar. Whatever. Let me say a little broad vulture. The loan admin, or mod rather.
Significant large infrastructure bill. We need to have a lot of straight talk from everybody on both sides about how you're going to pay for it. And
here we go. The best speech ever. The best phrase. They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it.
And the fact that our immigration laws do not
allow. Oh, and you knew they had to start sucking off the border issue. Like they couldn't resist sticking that in there. Holy hell! Like, I just can't escape that.
Finally, after years of gridlock on this, and by the way, it's important to point out that in 2009 and 2010, when the Democrats controlled the entire government, they never brought up immigration reform. Never.
Good.
When they owned it.
By the way, they did actually, like, that's again, like his thing is, when they controlled, they didn't do it. Neither did you. Why do you think you still don't have the wall? I mean, you had Congress in its entirety for 2 years, and you didn't get that. Why is that? Because it wasn't a priority. Like, don't let all this little stupid, day-to-day talk trick you. If they wanted to solve this, it would have been solved while they had control of both chambers, but they didn't do it. Instead, they whined and cried about Obamacare and tax reform and all that other crap. So it's, again, more lies and more smears and more stuff that's meant to trick people who don't vividly remember what the hell was happening, at that point.
It's finally time for us to step up and not only solve the crisis at the border, but do some changes in immigration laws that are sensible.
Debt ceiling this summer?
Yes, we have to do that.
And again, more platitudes. I brought this up in the stream from yesterday. Anytime you hear the word reform, it's a way of saying, yeah, we need to fix this problem without specifying how you're going to fix that problem. So that's his way of being like, oh yeah, I can be malleable and vote for something that is. No, you already have to. It was called the Gang of Eight, and you blocked that down. So more lies.
We'll tackle that at some point.
Which Democratic presidential candidate do you fear the most?
You know, I'm not going to answer that question. I'll tell you this. I think any of the Democrat who ultimately wins the nomination is probably going to say, oh, of course I'm a capitalist. But I think what we need to look at is what they're advocating, not what they call themselves. And any Democrat who's sympathetic to packing the Supreme Court, getting rid of the Electoral College, the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, is, in my view, taking America in the direction of socialism.
And do you think you'll be pushing another Supreme Court nomination?
Smears everybody.
Who knows? If there's a vacancy, we will.
All right, Senator.
Dude, I'm so sick of this Red Scare crap. They need to put that just like, oh. But I wanted to show, before we just go over, we end the stream, two things of note. So you listen to this this little stupid, let me see if I can get this hag off the screen. You listen to this little wonderful interview, right? And in this interview, he starts talking about the evils of socialism, blah, 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 blah. In this corner, and it's hard to see because the screen's blurry, I get that. But it says America's Election HQ, Town Hall, Bernie Sanders, April 15th, 6:30 p.m. So apparently socialism isn't too scary if you can get some ratings off of it, huh? And this isn't like doing an interview where you, or rather a documentary where you expose the person. No. This is, you're gonna have him on there, and you're gonna go, yeah, come on and watch us talk to Bernie. I thought you guys didn't like him. Oh, we don't, but it's going to get us ratings. So, we want to expose you to him so we can tell you it's bad, except we want you to also watch it. Then what the hell? Goes against their own thing. Sanders has also attracted some flack for showing up on Fox from like really, really disingenuous Democrats, which is incredible because, like I said, or rather, I was trying to see if I can find that clip. Basically, when I did the first one of these, they had Cardin, this Democrat in the Senate, on there. So actual Democrats can show up on there, and it's okay because reasons. But then if Sanders is on there, oh my God, he's betraying America and all that crap. It's like, you guys not remember when Obama did the interview with O'Reilly in the White House? Nobody remembers that? No, I don't remember anyone saying he was a traitor for doing that interview. So I hope you enjoyed the Fox clowns, the clown car, the idiots. And like I said, they've turned a network into a place of trying to smear one side and attempting to sort of do any kind of yellow journalism that's possible. And I'm not saying that as someone that likes CNN or MSNBC, because I have no problem roasting the people on there too. It's just, these are the segments that appear at the most egregious, and I'm going to take these and roll with them. So thank you for watching. Have a good Sunday.